Hey, it's Wes, and today we're going to talk about a cute little light. Just the cutest. It is the new GVM SD80D. Get a lot of numbers here, but GVM makes a lot of lights. Let's get into it, as always, starting with the build quality. The first thing you'll notice when you pick up this SD80D is that it is incredibly lightweight. You would be forgiven if you thought that the entire thing was made out of plastic, because it feels that light. But up on the front here, this is actually aluminum all on the front side, as well as the light mount, and of course the heat sink, because if the heat sink wasn't aluminum, we would probably have a bit of an issue. And everything else is very plasticky, and one issue that I have had is the screen. As you can see here, it is already quite scuffed. Because I don't put things in individual cases to take them to a job site, they all go inside the big lighting bag, and they have to hold up that way. That's just the way that it is, unfortunately. Now, this device, it came in a box, but not like the big padded box that previous GVM lights have come to me in. It is a giant cardboard box. I'm not going to take this to a job, but this is a lower end light from their lineup. So we're just talking about a whole bunch of styrofoam and stuff. Oh boy. Since we're on the build quality, first, just real quick before we get into this light particular build quality, I'm gonna show you what came in this box. This is their full creator kit. And so we have a light stand that is, it's not the highest quality. It packs up real tight. I probably wouldn't use it. And it comes with one of those soft boxes where you have to insert all the rods individually. I'm definitely not going to be using that. And the standard reflector, which, you know, you might use. So that's the box. Honestly, I don't care about that stuff. The light, that's the main event. On the other side here, we have mount for the Sony FP series batteries. So I'm just going to snap those on real quick already. There is no locking mechanism, they just slide on. They're in okay. If you bang this around a bit, the batteries might fall off. We have our Bowen's mounting switch that has a nice positive feel to it. On the back here, let's loosen this up, we have a not altogether confidence-inspiring locking mechanism here. It's one of the clicky ones. A very generic DC plug, kind of a generic selector knob. Also presses super generic power switch. Got our umbrella holder under here with a screw. Anyway, obviously nothing super special going on here. I probably don't need to tell you right from the get-go, this is going to go for an aggressive price point. So we can forgive a lot of this, but the build quality is what it is, and it's going to be a 6 out of 10. But I think we're going to recoup some points pretty soon here. Feature set. Let me get my phone out. All right, so we're going to power this off of the batteries for now, which requires us to hit the switch to the number 2 position. If you go up to number 1, that's just the DC power. So we'll go number 2. I'm going to turn this down a bit because don't need to go crazy right yet. All right, we're going to open our GVM app. Let's see how easy it is to get paired here. Add a device. SD80. Connecting. It's going pretty well. Oh, here we go. Let's manage this light. No. There we are. Okay. Let's see how our settings go here. We have intensity. Oh yeah, that was pretty easy. And I love having the apps for things like the color. Go from 7500K all the way down to 2700, and then there are quick selector buttons for each color. Easy peasy. And then, nice on-off switch here. Okay. But I want to get into our effects. It keeps jumping past. Here we are. So we can choose to simulate various things. Sodium lamp, a CFL, daylight. Not too concerned about that because my setup is my setup. We'll go to the effects here. Explosion. What's that going to do? Start. Okay, pops on and kind of wanes. Try some lightning. Start. Intensity, got to crank that up if you're going to do lightning. Oh, yeah. That's nothing that special. Do we have a campfire? Oh, a candle. There we go. Now we want the candle to be as warm as possible. Seems a little slow for a candle. Let's up the flicker rate here. Kind of just looks like it's breathing. Not that impressive. Let's just go back to CCT mode, turn the intensity down. So that's our app that's built in here, which is a big part of our feature set. But what if we don't want to use the app? Well, we have a very nice screen, albeit behind some easily scratched plastic. So how do I turn this back on when I've turned it off with the Bluetooth? Apparently I can't. Let's try this again. Yeah, so our effects can be browsed on the screen here. And on the back, we have our intensity selector. Now, on most lights, you tap this once to switch between our color or white balance and our intensity, but this one, if you tap it once, it quickly cycles through intensities. So if you want to really jump fast, you can do that. Or you can hold it down and then switch between intensity and white balance. I would say I'd rather the tap to be switched between intensity and white balance because that's how I use it. But I feel like if you got used to this particular scheme, having the quick steps would also be useful. What would be even more useful, which almost nobody does these days, is just to have two dials so that I can control them independently. Does it really cost that much more to have two knobs on here? Come on. And I have to say this knob, the way that it sticks out here, I feel like it's going to get snapped off at some point. There's nothing surrounding it. It's just a tiny knob. It doesn't come with a specific case either, which, I mean, they could argue you should be using the case it comes with, but it doesn't. So like, I feel like in my bag, eventually this knob is going to bite it, which is unfortunate. Big feature. You have a Bowens mount. Super useful. Another huge feature for me is you can just snap these Sony batteries right on. You need to put two on or it won't work, which is fine, but you can quickly swap these out and use these on the go. There's no dangling bits and stuff like that. It's all compact and put together. I love that. The tiny size is also a fantastic feature, but that's more of a usability thing. Effect set, it's fine. The white balance control from 2700 to 7500 is a very wide range. I consider that's a strong feature as well. If we look at the power measurements, this is rated as 80 watts. And at 7500K, we're looking at 88 watts. And 2700, 79 watts. In the middle at 5600, it is 82 watts. So it kind of hits it right on the money, just goes a little bit over, so that's great. If we look at the power curve, it is not so much a curve, but a very linear line, which that's good. I would rather it be a curve though, just because of the perceptual nature of light, kind of ramp up as you go along. The differences at the top end when it's a straight line are barely perceptible because, again, just the way the human eye works, it's almost similar to the way the human ear works. That's why decibels are an exponential scale. But overall, because it is smooth, it is very predictable, so that's fine. Some lights kind of jump up and down a little bit. And you can get that power level down really, really low if you want, which I appreciate. If I go down to 1% here, it's not a lot of light. Now you're seeing some ghosting and flaring here because I'm using a black mist filter on this one. This over here though, this is just the Sony 90mm macro on its own. What are we missing? Well, we're missing a fully articulating arm. We have pretty small steps here, but gross. And this arm itself is quite long. and you can't pull it out and change its position like you can with a lot of lights. Now, the mostly more expensive lights that are like that, I will admit, doesn't come with a body cap. I hate that a lot of LED lights now don't come with a cap. This is a cap from my Godox SL152. That came out ages ago, and that's probably why it still came with a cap back then. I want to be able to put a cap on this. It's going to go in my bag. I don't want to scuff up or damage or get a bunch of schmutz on my COB. Why don't they come with caps anymore? I actually contacted Godox and asked if I could buy a bunch of these, and they're like, why would you want to buy some of those? And I was like, because I have a bunch of lights that don't have a cap. The only other cap I can find is this gigantic thing I found on eBay that you've probably seen them before. That actually is designed to cover bulbs, but I don't want that either because it doubles the size of the light because this light's so tiny. So anyway, overall, feature set, well-featured light. I'm going to give that an 8.5 out of 10. Light quality, this is a latest generation COB LED system. We're talking a CRI of 97 or above, depending on your white balance going on here. And also, for me, light quality, you've got a Bowens mount, so you can make that look like whatever you want. You can spread it out big, make it small. These photos, color was so important for these pictures, and this thing did fantastically. I am super impressed. In the early days of LED video lights, you were looking at a CRI of like 85 to 90, maybe 92. And the colors just wouldn't pop. It was fine for like 8-bit video, which is what we're doing on YouTube here, but if you're taking 12, 14, 16-bit RAW files that are eventually going to be on a billboard, yeah, that's what these pictures are for, you need all the colors. Now, yes, I will concede billboard printing processes are not fantastic, but if you're going to be editing it to an enormous degree so that you can have that picture look great when it's 16, 25 feet wide, you want all the bit depth, all the color depth, so that you can bring out everything that you want from it. So light quality, it's a 9 out of 10. There are a couple things on the market now that exceed this in CRI, but not a lot. It is solid. Usability. As I mentioned before, the big win for usability for me is just the teeny tiny compact size and lightweight of this unit. It's fantastic. I also love having the batteries on the side here. Now that's a matter of preference. Some people prefer to bring the batteries down somewhere else, but because this is just an 80-watt light, you're not going to be using gigantic V-mount or the even larger batteries on that. Bowens mount, also incredibly key, great for versatility. Bluetooth works fantastic. Initial setup, super easy. The control interface, as I mentioned before, is just a little bit different and just takes a tiny bit of getting used to, but overall, very, very easy to use. You have a screen that is great visibility off axis. I mean, we have a ton of reflection coming in here from this huge softbox, and you can still read this screen. So up, down, upside down, very readable screen. My only big complaint, let's get the actual power adapter for this out. Here is the power adapter. Pretty run-of-the-mill, nothing fancy. But this cord, there are very few occasions where this light is only going to be 3 feet off the ground. I mean, right now it is because I need it to be in front of this camera, but this cord is not long enough. So either you're going to have to give me a way to mount this on the light stand, which they did not, or make this wire longer. Now, I hear you saying, but Wes, you can't make the DC side that long. You'll have power losses. Let me introduce you to this power adapter here. It is 18 volts, 3.5 amps. What do we have here for this one? 15 volts, 7 amps. So we got a little more power going through here. The wire on this is thinner than the wire on this lower powered device, but that's because this thing is 15 feet long. That's fantastically convenient. Tiny little wall wart, 15-foot DC power cable. That's what I want to see, not that lazy little design. So that is our only hit to usability. Other than that, this thing is fantastically easy to use. It's a 9 out of 10. Value, that's where we're expecting to do well here, and of course we do. It's a GVM light. I guess I did have one that had a problematic value in the past, but anyway. Thankfully, the fan on this worked out of the box. Check out my other video. This one comes in at $160 for an 80-watt bi-colored LED light. Now, it's a little bit tricky comparing this because most LED lights are either 60 or 100. Not so much in the middle, so they kind of carved themselves a little niche there. But let's see how close we can get. We have the Nanlite FS60B for 180 bucks, just a tiny bit more. 70-watt light, not quite as much power. Or we've got this small rig RC120B bi-colored light, but that's a lot more power. So it costs more, it's $260. Godox, which I had before, SL100 bi, again, more power, that's over 100 watts, $230, a lot more money. I don't want to count anything that doesn't have a built-in Bowens mount, so the Colbor CL60 is out. Interesting thing though, the Amran 60X, a 65-watt light, not quite as much as this, $200, it costs more. If we look real close at the Amran, it's looking pretty similar to this light. So I have my suspicions that whoever is making the internals for this light might be distributing it to multiple parties. Maybe it's just that people manage to get things smaller and they end up looking the same just by accident. I don't know. But anyway, this one costs way less than the Amran anyway. There are some devices that can get you as much or more power for less money, but not with the built-in Bowens mount. So this is a 9.5 out of 10. That gives us a total of 42 out of 50, which, to be quite honest, I was not expecting. We lose a lot of points in the build quality because they were going for an aggressive price point on that. We've cut a few corners, but overall, we have solid light for a solid price. I'm impressed. I have used this many times already, and as a part of my normal testing, I have to leave a light on for 8 hours straight to make sure it doesn't wear out or burn out, and this is fine. It works great. Let me know what you think about this cheap little light down in the comments below, and what direction should the market go next anyway? We'll talk about that. But until next time, let's go take some photos. I know it's a video light, but I still like to take pictures.